Hello everyone, welcome to the Salesforce internship program. Today we are at 20th episode. In this episode we are going to discuss about how to enhance our applications. So I got a requirement from my customer saying that I need some more validation in our Power BI CRM app. What are validations that customer is looking for? Customer is saying if a quote status is accepted by customer, then customer accepted date should not be left blank. If I go to the my quote, click on edit button. If I am changing my status call quote accepted by customer, in this scenario I cannot left this customer accepted date blank actually. So this is my first requirement in terms of our validations. Now in the second requirement, what it says, user should not be able to change the status to agreement sent to customer in case there is no agreement record. So meaning that, let's suppose this particular quote it does not have any agreement as such. If there is no agreement, meaning that the number of agreement is 0, right? So in this scenario I should not be allowed to change my status to agreement sent to customer actually, right? Or agreement signed by the customer. This is my second piece of requirement for our validation rule. So let's do the step-by-step logic for validation rule. So we are going to put this validation rule in place for the quote status. So let's go back to the quote. I am going to copy this value called quote accepted by customer, right? Go to the wrench icon, click on setup, go to the object manager, search for the quote. Click on validation rule. In this we are going to create a new validation rule called quote accepted by customer. In this scenario we are going to test call status field. If this status, I am going to convert this value to a text actually because it is a pick list. If this pick list values is quote accepted by customer and my field called accepted by customer date, customer accepted date, right? If this is blank, right? If this is equal to null, then true, else false, right? True and false, and then that's it. I am going to put a error called, just copying this value and putting here. If quote status is accepted by customer, then the customer date should not be left blank. Click on save button. So let's see the logic whether it's working or not. I'm going to click on the edit button and hit save button, but I think still it is not working. Let's see why it is not working. If the quote status equal to accepted by customer and null, I think this null may be a problem, so we are going to check called is blank. There is a syntax called is blank. I'm going to use called is blank, right? And then hit save button. Let's see. Yep. So here you see the if the quote status is quote accepted by customer, then the customer acceptance date should not be left blank. So what the formula will be, if text status equal to accepted by customer and is blank, my customer date is blank and this is the status field values, then throw error message, means true else false. If it is true, then throw an error message, right? So this is how I have put it a logic for the validation rule. Let's try to create another logic call. User should not be able to change the status to the agreement sent to customer in case there is no agreement record. So let's go back again, click on validation rule. Let's create another validation rule. Call agreement status change. Status change, right? So I'm going to check for quote number of agreement. If number of agreement is 0, right? This is 0, and status field quote status field, right? Status field value equal to agreement sent to customer, right? So let me see, agreement sent to customer. Then true, else false, right? Copy this syntax, text message, error message, and then paste it here and click save button. Now let's check the logic whether it's working or not. Click on edit button and hit save button. You see, user should not be able to change the status to agreement sent to customer in case there is no agreement record. So first we need to create an agreement, then only I will be able to change the status, right? So now I have successfully implemented these two validation rule on code record. Now moving forward, my customer is also asking for another validations on a agreement object. So in order to achieve so, let's see what all requirement is there for agreement validation. What is saying, the user should not be able to create a new agreement until we have a customer accepted date, meaning that the code should be accepted first before you initiate the agreement actually, right? So in order to complete this exercise, let's create a validation rule, right? So I'm going to copy and then go to the object manager, click on agreement, click on validation rule, and then hit new button. We are saying that customer accepted date validations, right? I'm putting call customer accepted date validation, right? So in this scenario we need to check whether my code customer accepted date, if this is blank, right, is blank, and my record is a new record, is new means my code is a new code, then throw an error message, right? Copy this one and then go to here and hit save button. Now you see, this is how our logic will look like. Is blank equal to quote a customer accepted date, and if it is a new record means new agreement record. So let's see if I'm going to create a new here agreement, which is the customer accepted date is blank, right? So if I go and create I'm selecting my first quote and then hit save button. So you see, users should not be allowed to create a new agreement until we have a customer accepted date. So for this, customer accepted date is very much required because we need to send the quotations. Customer should be accept first before I initiate a agreement, right? So now moving forward, we need to check for another logic called users should not be able to create a quote in case there is no quote line item record actually. So we need to also find out, because on a quote we must have some quote line item, right? If the quote line item count is not there, right? So first we need to calculate the quote line item count actually. So we have a quote total amount and the quote line item count is not there. So let's create a one field called quote line item count. Or we can also put a logic called quote total amount. If it is the quote total amount uh, is a zero, right? Meaning that the we don't have any quote line item under this quote, right? So in this scenario, users should not be allowed to create a uh, quote in case there is no quote line item record. Users should not be allowed to create agreement in case there is no, if there is quote amount is 0. Okay, my quote amount is 0 actually. So what we are going to do now, going back to the agreement again, click on validation rule. Let's create a validation rule called quote amount 0. Means we don't have any line item. I'm going to click on agreement and then quote, and then we have a quote net total, right? Net total, quote total amount. So quote total amount is 0. If it is 0, then and is new, my record is totally new, means agreement is a new record. So it should not be allowed to create an agreement record actually, right? So this is how our logic, quote not total equal to 0 and it is a new agreement, then user should not be allowed. Let's see how we can see here. Let me delete this line item for now, so that I can see my line item total become 0. So hold on, I'm going to set a status called new, so that there should not be any error. Let me delete this record. Okay, all right, so we have 0 amount. Now let's create an agreement. I'm going to put a code 001. I must receive an error. So here now you see I am getting a 2 error. One is user should not be allowed to create an agreement in case there is a 0 amount, and user should not be able to create a if it is new agreement until the customer accepted date is there, right? So these are all two validation I would like to achieve. Now moving to the create a validation rule on a quote line item. User should not be able to create or add a quote line in case the quote line status, means the pet status is not available, meaning that I cannot select a pet which is already been sold out or not available for sale. As you see, every pet has a status called available for sale, right? If this is available, then only I can go and add to the quote line item, right? So the problem here is, if I open any quote, go to the related, I can go and click on add line item. I can easily select any one of these pet, right? I can also select spring. Let's see the spring is available or not, right? If I go to the pet record, in the pet it is available, but this one is not available, called Sire. So Sire is a mother or parents of uh, Bruno, right? So Sire, if I go and select, I can easily go and create the record, right? But it should not be available for the quote line item creation, correct? So now let's achieve this requirement. Go back to the agreement, click on object manager and go to the quote line item. So in this scenario we need to create a validation rule, pet not available validation, right? If the pet is not available, means if we can say insert quote line item pet status field, adoption status, text is not equal to our label and is new, means I am creating a new quote line item. Then user should get an error message, pet is not available. Hit a save button. Now let's try to add this array here. You see I am getting a error called pet is not available. But if I choose any other called Bruno 10,000 or something, right, give us a discount and hit save button, I can easily go ahead and add to the code actually. So now this is what I would like to achieve my validation rule here. So we have successfully created this validation in terms of enhancement. Thanks once again. Thanks for joining. Stay tuned for the next episode.